We will explain Honey. This movie tells the story of a shy girl who finds it difficult to make friends with anyone. One day, a popular boy from school asked her to be his girlfriend, and because she was so scared, she was forced to say yes. But will their dating relationship actually take them to a more serious level? Let's find out in Honey. Honey begins by showing a high school girl named Nao Kagir. Nao is a shy girl with short brown hair and brown eyes. Nao starts off as easily frightened, worried, and a bit of a coward. When she was 6 years old, Nao became an orphan because her parents died in a car accident in a tunnel. Now lives with her uncle, Sasuk Kagir, or commonly called Su, who was forced to quit his job after the death of his sister and brother-in-law. Su dedicated himself to taking care of his niece and runs a cafe called Felice. Su is in his mid-20s and used to be a smoker but quit after adopting Nao. Because her uncle is quite handsome and very considerate of her, Nao has a crush on him and gets jealous when a female customer approaches her uncle. One day, at school, Nao sees a commotion involving a red-haired youth named Taiga on ice with a group of students. Nao immediately felt scared because basically she didn't like seeing violence. When she was about to leave, her body was accidentally hit by Taiga and causing both of them to fall to the ground. A teacher who saw the commotion then dismissed Taiga and the fighting students, leaving Nao still cowering in fear of what had just happened to her. Meanwhile in the classroom, Nao seems to be silent when a group of students throws paper balls at her to annoy her. Nao actually wanted to fight them, but her guts immediately shrunk when she saw these mean-looking students. Not long after that, a student named Ko Yoshiro reprimanded the students who bullied Nao, then told Nao not to be silent when someone tried to bully her. Nao couldn't help but bow her head in shame at Ko's words because in reality, she never dared to stand up for herself. Taiga entered Nao's class a while later and walked towards her. Everyone immediately stepped aside to make way for Taiga. Nao immediately lowered her head and closed her eyes, pretending to be someone else when Taiga called her name. Taiga then tells Nao to meet him behind the gym after school. Nao then widened her eyes in surprise when she heard Taiga's words. After that, Taiga immediately left there, ignoring the people whispering about the two of them. After school, Nao headed to the back of the gym, where Taiga was waiting for her there. Nao stood scared because Taiga was staring at her intensely and hiding something behind his back. She thought Taiga would hurt or even kill her with a knife, so she closed her eyes. Unexpectedly, Taiga even gave a bouquet of flowers to her, saying and asking if she wanted to date him. He promises that they will get married. Hearing Taiga's declaration of love, Nao screamed in horror. She intends to refuse Taiga, but eventually, she cannot turn down his proposal because she is scared of him and thinks Taiga will beat her if she rejects him. The following day, Su prepares a delicious meal for Nao's lunch at school. Su advises her to eat lots of vegetables because it is good for her health, but Su replies that she will devour the food that Su makes, even though it is not good for her health because his cooking is very delicious. Nao tries to always appear cheerful in front of her uncle, but after leaving the house and going to school, she immediately feels lethargic because she has to deal with Taiga. Nao was then taken aback when Taiga stood across the street and called out to her. Nao thought Taiga was stalking her, but apparently he asked Nao to go to school together. Arriving at the school, everyone seemed out of sight to make way for Taiga and Nao, who walked down shyly next to Taiga. Everyone still can't believe that Nao, the shy girl, is dating Taiga because they think Taiga is a delinquent student with red hair and ear piercing. Moreover, Taiga always acts cold and often fights with several students. In fact, the fight was because Taiga defended his friend, Ayumu Misaki, who was often bullied by the other students. During break time, Nao and Taiga also intended to eat together on a park bench, where Taiga then handed over the lunch he made to Nao. Feeling bad for refusing it, Nao accepts Taiga's lunch. Nao looked surprised when she saw and tasted Taiga's lunch, then praised him for being good at cooking. Taiga then told Nao that he only lived with his mother, and because his mother was busy at work, he was in charge of cooking and taking care of the house. Taiga said he dreams of becoming a chef and owning his own restaurant. Nao again praised Taiga for thinking about his goals, but Taiga said he only wanted to do what he liked, including cooking. Nao then shifted and sat close to him while praising Taiga and confessed that in fact she was afraid Taiga would hit her if she said his cooking was not good. But in reality, Taiga cuisine is very good. Taiga then laughed at Nao's innocent confession. He said he would not hit people just because of trivial things. Taiga tells Nao that he will not fight again and do anything Nao dislikes, while promising that he will continue to protect Nao. Hearing this, Nao was confused as to why Taiga chose her poor and timid self so that no one liked her. But Taiga doesn't seem to agree because according to him, Nao is the only person who can make him fall in love. Taiga apparently fell in love with Nao when she gave him an umbrella and bandages upon seeing him in the rain after a fight. Nao kept thinking about Taiga and what he had done for her. Give a bunch of flowers as a declaration of love, make a delicious lunch, and tell about his goals, and reveal a little about his family life. Nao, who thought Taiga was a violent delinquent who often fought and thought he was a scary person, finally found out that Taiga has a soft and kind side and cares about others. One day, Nao and Taiga's classes are merged because their school will have a field trip at a campsite. Nao and Taiga join a group with Ko and Ayumu. Ayumu is a good-looking student, but short-tempered and dirty mouth. Ayumu is often bullied by delinquent students. Taiga once helped Ayumu and they have been friends ever since. When all the students had set up their tents and prepared food, Ayumu seemed to be alone by the lake while reading comics. Not long after, several students came to him and pranked Ayumu by throwing his precious protective amulet into the lake. Without thinking, Ayumu then plunged into the lake to take the amulet, even though he couldn't swim. Knowing that Ayumu can't swim, the students don't help, but instead leave him. Hearing Ayumu's screams, Taiga rushed to the lake and saved him. Taiga also managed to get back Ayumu's precious amulet. Nao and Ko then followed to the lake, and the four of them decided to return to camp. But in the middle of the journey, Taiga remembered that he had left his jacket by the lake. Nao then offered to fetch it and asked them to hurry back to camp so Taiga and Ayumu could change into dry clothes. A few moments later, Taiga realized that Nao had not returned since long ago. He then asked Ko and Ayumu, but they also did not know where Nao was. Taiga immediately ran back to the lake to catch up with Nao, but when he got there, he didn't find her, and his jacket was still there, indicating that Nao got lost on the way and never reached the lake. On the other hand, a lost Nao finds a dark tunnel in the forest. Although not sure if the tunnel leads to the lake, she was forced to venture into the tunnel. Nao recalled the painful memories she had as a child because her parents died in a car accident in the tunnel, which traumatized her every time she saw the tunnel. Entering the tunnel deeper and deeper, Nao became more and more nervous and frightened, especially when the lights in the tunnel suddenly went out. Nao began to feel a panic attack, during which she began to have difficulty breathing and fell to the ground. Nao then shouted Sue's name, and soon, she heard Taiga shout her name and enter the tunnel. Nao burst into tears when Taiga hugged her tightly to comfort her. On the way to the camp, she apologizes to Taiga for troubling him. Taiga didn't mind it because Nao was fine. Taiga apparently heard when Nao shouted Sue's name and guessed that Sue was the man Nao liked. Nao then explains to Taiga that Sue is her uncle. Nao tells Taiga that since the accident that killed her parents, she has been cared for by Sue, who acts as both father and mother. She did not know when she liked her uncle and felt ashamed for liking her own uncle. Taiga then suspects that Sue must be a very great and cool man because Nao likes him so much, which Nao then agrees. Taiga then said that Nao no longer needed to be his girlfriend if she felt forced and asked her to be his friend. He only wants to date Nao again if she really loves him sincerely. The next day, Ayumu is very surprised to find out that Taiga is no longer dating Nao. Taiga only said that his love was rejected by Nao. Meanwhile, in class, Nao also tells Ko that she is no longer dating Taiga and reveals that she was forced to accept him because she was afraid. But now Nao is no longer afraid of Taiga and befriends him. Hearing Nao's confession, Ko even said that Nao could imagine when she kissed Taiga, then that means Nao really likes Taiga and doesn't see him as an ordinary friend. Nao thought about Ko's words as she turned towards the hallway, where she accidentally met Taiga, who happened to be passing in front of her class. For a moment, they stared at each other meaningfully. On the next day in front of the school gate, Nao looks surprised when she sees Ko being escorted to school by a handsome man riding a big motorbike. Both of them did not hesitate when kissing in front of many people. Apparently, not only Nao who was surprised to see this. On the other hand, Ayumu also saw it and was very surprised to discover that Ko already had a boyfriend. That day, Taiga's class had a new student named Miyabi Nishigaki, who turned out to have a personality not much different from that of Nao, who was very shy and awkward. While in the library, Taiga accidentally runs into Nao. Miyabi was also there and was reading a book. Taiga then tells Now that Miyabi is the new transfer student in his class. Seeing the title of the book Miyabi was reading, Now then told Taiga that she had read the book, which turned out to be a guidebook for interacting with other people without feeling awkward and embarrassed. Hearing Nao's explanation, Taiga concluded that Miyabi was a very shy girl and had difficulty getting along with people around her. While in class, Taiga and Ayumu saw Miyabi trying to interact with other students. But she actually got scorn and innuendo, so Miyabi felt even more insecure about opening conversations with other people. During recess, Taiga then invited Miyabi to have lunch with him. Since then, Taiga seems to be getting closer to Miyabi. One day, Nao accidentally saw Taiga who was having lunch with Miyabi on a park bench. She felt jealous seeing the closeness of Taiga and Miyabi who were involved in exciting conversations, even though in reality, Taiga was only helping Miyabi so that she felt more confident and no longer felt awkward when talking to other people. Not long after, Nao silently watched Miyabi running in the corridor, then approached Taiga, where she looked happy, and said something to Taiga who also felt happy after hearing that. Nao looked at Taiga and Miyabi with a sour face because she didn't like Taiga and Miyabi's closeness. But then, Ayumu turned to Nao, which made Nao feel awkward and rushed away. After school, Ayumu goes to Nao who is sitting pensively on a park bench, where she usually spends her time having lunch with Taiga. Ayumu then asked why Nao had a gloomy face, but Nao tried to hide her feelings. After Ayumu reassures her, she finally reveals that she feels jealous when seeing Taiga around another woman. Ayumu then smiled because he knew that Nao really loved Taiga but avoided it. Ayumu then advises Nao to express her love for Taiga to prevent misunderstanding between them. Ayumu hurriedly said goodbye and Nao chased after him to say thank you, then ran to Taiga class to express her feelings. Taiga said goodbye to Miyabi in the classroom and was about to go home, but Miyabi called him and then pulled his shirt as if she wanted to say something to Taiga. But then, Miyabi withdrew after Nao entered the Taiga class in a breathless state. After catching her breath, Nao dared to express her love for Taiga. Nao then admitted that she felt jealous seeing Taiga's closeness with Miyabi. Hearing Nao's words, Miyabi then told her that she only thought of Taiga as her friend and thanked him for helping her to be more confident and no longer feel awkward when interacting with other people. After saying that, Miyabi said goodbye while smiling at Taiga and Nao. Taiga then asks about Sue, to which Nao replies that she has finally realized her feelings for Sue are not as a lover but as a daughter to her parents. Nao then approached Taiga and asked him to be her boyfriend and later marry her. Hearing Nao's confession, Taiga felt nervous and embarrassed. Taiga couldn't say anything and just hugged Nao to make sure he wasn't dreaming. Nao then led Taiga's hand to pinch her cheek while her hand pinched Taiga's cheek, saying that this was not a dream. Since then, Taiga and Nao have been dating again and promised to marry and be happy forever one day. This film teaches us that we must be brave to express whatever we feel. When that courage appears, then all the burdens of life that we live will be easier for us to go through.